There is something they have never told you about your mind. Not in school, not in therapy, not in any book they ever allowed you to read. A hidden flaw, or perhaps a hidden design. You think you are tired, exhausted, distracted, overwhelmed. But what if I told you that none of it is real? That your exhaustion is not a wall, but a deception. That your environment is not neutral, but a trap. And that what you call focus is nothing more than training wheels for a darker, more potent mental state you were never meant to access. This is not motivation. This is a doorway to regions of your mind that have been dormant for years. And be warned, once you cross it, you will never be the same. You will begin to see patterns others miss. You will operate while they collapse. You will think in a way that makes you dangerous. And those who once seemed smarter or more talented than you will begin to look slow. Because this isn't about doing more. It's about becoming someone else entirely. Part 1. Understand the myth of mental exhaustion. You have lived under a lie so deeply embedded in your psyche you've mistaken it for a law of nature. You were taught that fatigue is your natural limit. That the moment you feel tired, lose focus, or crave a distraction, it means you are depleted. This is not true. It is one of the most insidious psychological traps ever installed in the human mind. And until you dismantle it, you will never access your true intelligence. You will forever be a slave to your own biology. Listen closely. Mental exhaustion is not a fuel shortage. It is a phantom, a defensive hallucination created by your brain to conserve energy. Not to protect your potential, but to limit it. Your brain was not designed for excellence. It was designed for survival. Its priority is not to make you a genius, but to keep you alive with the least effort possible. And the moment it senses that a task is uncomfortable, it deploys its defensive arsenal. Drowsiness, anxiety, a craving for dopamine, mindless scrolling, sugar, trivial entertainment, or a self-sabotaging thought like, maybe I'm just not smart enough for this. These are not signals of genuine exhaustion. These are alerts from an ancient operating system that fears sustained effort. Why? Because in our evolutionary past, consuming too much energy meant death. In a world of hunting and predators, wasting energy meant starvation, weakness, and being easily hunted. But today, you are not fighting saber-toothed tigers. You are fighting for influence, for dominance, for psychological power. And that same defensive wiring is what is killing your evolution. The true reality of mental fatigue is this. Science has known it for decades. Studies on mental fatigue reveal something stunning. When people report feeling mentally exhausted, brain scans show they still possess abundant reserves of focus, memory, and cognitive energy. The exhaustion is psychological, not physiological. It is a feeling, not a hard limit. Think about it. How many times have you felt too tired to work, but suddenly became energized when something exciting, interesting, or urgent appeared? Your brain didn't magically refuel. It was never empty in the first place. It just overrode the exhaustion trick because the new stimulus was deemed worthy of the energy. Fatigue is not a wall. It is a negotiation. And those who master their minds do not negotiate. They dominate. When you think of geniuses, you imagine effortless brilliance. But what you don't see is that the true genius that reshapes industries, rewrites history, and alters the course of humanity is rarely the result of a smarter biology. It is the product of individuals who broke the fatigue barrier, who learned to push when others surrendered, who saw that first feeling of exhaustion not as a signal to stop, but as a gateway to cross. Beyond that exhaustion lies true power. Ordinary people retreat at the first sign of discomfort. They say, I deserve a break, or I'll be better tomorrow. But the mind that will surpass them, the mind that will become a legend, sees exhaustion as the first checkpoint. While others flee from it, you advance toward it. There is a second mind beneath your normal consciousness. It does not emerge easily. It is buried under layers of comfort-seeking and energy-preserving instincts. But when you resist the phantom fatigue, when you shut the door on the easy escape, a shift occurs. A chemical storm erupts in your brain, neuroadrenaline, dopamine rerouting. Your brain begins to feed on itself, sharpening under pressure. What was once impossible becomes automatic. You enter a darker, more dangerous mode of thought. Razor-sharp focus, merciless analysis, non-stop problem solving. You are no longer forcing your mind to work. It is working through you. This transformation terrifies those who have never experienced it because it reveals the sheer scale of the potential they have abandoned. Here is the forbidden law. The true mind is born after exhaustion. Every genuine breakthrough, intellectual, physical, creative, strategic, happens just past the point where the weak collapse. That moment when everything inside you is screaming for you to stop is the precise starting point of the real battle. Push past it, and you begin to operate from a depth most humans will never reach. And when you get there, you will see everyone else differently. their complaints, their excuses, their limiting beliefs. You will see them as cages they have chosen to wear. But you are becoming free. And once you taste that freedom, you will never go back. Your mind is not a fragile glass machine. It is a nuclear reactor, shackled by fear and fatigue. Exhaustion is not your limit, it is your chain. Every time you obey it, you tighten the chain. Every time you defy it, you loosen it. Until one day, the chain breaks completely. And then, you will no longer live inside the cages designed for ordinary minds. You will operate in a dimension they cannot even comprehend. Part 2. Build a zero-friction environment. Once you realize your mental exhaustion is a psychological trap and not a real limit, you face the next enemy, friction. Because even if you transcend phantom fatigue, a chaotic, polluted, cluttered environment will still make you lose. Not because you are weak, but because you are fighting a silent war against 1,000 invisible enemies every single minute. The hidden war on your focus is relentless. Every notification you allow, every piece of background noise you tolerate, every browser tab you leave open, these are not minor distractions. They are cognitive parasites. Small energy leaks, microscopic cracks in your mental armor. Alone, they seem harmless. But compounded over an hour, a day, a week, they become catastrophic. Every simple distraction costs you 3 things: the time to react to it, the time to refocus, and the mental overhead you can never get back. You might lose only 30 seconds reading a text, but regaining the deep focus you had before the interruption can cost you 20 to 30 minutes of full cognitive horsepower. Most people live in a state of perpetual interruption. They call it being connected. I call it slavery. In the physical world, energy is lost to friction. A machine that should run at full speed loses its power to heat and resistance. Your mind is no different. Every point of resistance in your environment, an open app, random noise, a cluttered desk, a buzzing notification, steals your mental energy, not consciously, not dramatically, but silently, invisibly, and lethally. The law is simple. The more friction you permit, the weaker you become. The cleaner your environment, the more superhuman you become. If you are serious about weaponizing your mind, you must wage all-out war on friction. Your environment should not just be clean, it must be engineered as a weapon. Every element around you must either enhance your mind or be eliminated. Here is how the elite build cognitive fortresses. Eradicate all open loops. Every unfinished task, every misplaced object, every "I should do that" lingering in your mind is leaking your attention, even when you ignore it. Close them or delete them ruthlessly. Assassinate all negative inputs. No social media feeds. No active notifications. No email open in the background. Erect high-cost barriers to distraction. Make it hard to exit a state of focus. Log out of apps. Put your phone in another room. Block websites. Make friction work for distraction and freedom work for focus. Prime your environment for your mission. Place symbols of your goals everywhere. Quotes, objects, music, anything that tunes your mind for battle, not for relaxation. Create a ritual to enter the zone. A single, repeatable action that tells your brain, it's time. Light a candle. Play a specific track. The body primes the mind. Become a predator of focus. Most people treat their attention like an open buffet. Anyone, anything, any random thought can take a piece of it. You will be different. You will treat your attention like a predator treats its energy, with cold, ruthless calculation. You will not allow random conversations to steal your focus. You will not tolerate background noise that degrades your mental clarity. You will not chase every moment of boredom in search of something new. Focus is not something you hope for. It is something you defend with blood and fire. You are either the master of your environment or its prisoner. When you study the greatest achievers in history, you discover a pattern. Nikola Tesla worked alone in sterile labs. Isaac Newton was obsessive about removing distractions. Bruce Lee engineered his entire day around eliminating wasted motion. Napoleon maintained an environment of strategic silence, even in the chaos of war. They weren't lucky to be focused. They designed their world to force it upon them. As a result, their cognitive energy lasted longer, their breakthroughs happened faster, and their dominance became inevitable. You are not inferior if you suffer from poor focus. You are simply surrounded by an environment designed to destroy it. And the moment you change your environment, you will feel your mind begin to sharpen automatically, as if a stronger, more ruthless version of you was just waiting for the noise to die down. Your mind is an engine capable of the impossible, but only if you remove the 1,000 tiny knives that are tearing it apart every second. Your battle is not just against laziness, but against an entire ecosystem of hidden friction. Part 3. Engineering Neuro-Flow. Flow is not a mood. It is a state of neurobiological hyperperformance. It's a state activated by precise psychological conditions. And once you master how to engineer those conditions, flow becomes a lever you can pull at will. There are three primary enemies that prevent you from entering flow: cognitive friction, task switching, and priority conflict. You cannot slide into a state of flow if your mind is thrashing in chaos. The solution: ruthlessly select one and only one mission. Give it your complete mental commitment. The second enemy is a low entry barrier. Trying to ease your way into focus prevents you from ever reaching it. The mind needs a high activation cost, a jolt that forces it across the apathetic threshold. The solution: begin immediately with a cognitively demanding task. Start with the hardest part. Do not procrastinate. The third enemy is the escape hatch. If there are ways to escape: a nearby phone, open browser tabs, active notifications, your brain will not fully invest. The solution: obliterate every possible exit. Make flow the only path forward. Here is how you force yourself past your own resistance and into a state of Neuro-Flow. Step 1. Pre-commit to the mission. Before you begin, decide with absolute precision what task will have your focus. No improvisation, no midstream changes. Step 2. The brutal starting challenge. Choose the hardest point of entry. No warm-up, no loading screen mentality. Attack the biggest mental problem first. Step 3. Black out all exits. Phone in another room. Internet blockers on. Only one window open. No, I'll just check quickly. Step 4. Activate the ignition ritual. Create a sensory trigger that announces the start of flow. A specific song, lighting a candle, the sound of a timer. Your nervous system will begin to associate this trigger with deep work automatically. Step 5. Push through the pain barrier. The first 20 to 30 minutes will feel slow, fuzzy, weak. This is just your brain's old defense system. Ignore it. Continue without judgment. Around the 40-minute mark, the mind recalibrates, and the doors to flow open. Once you are in a state of flow, your productivity does not increase incrementally. It multiplies. What took 5 hours is done in 45 minutes. What felt exhausting becomes automatic. When the mind is fully engaged, it stops resisting the task. It stops rationing its energy and begins to unload all of its cognitive resources. The world around you, the noise, the doubt, the fear, the fatigue, fades into a meaningless background. You don't deal with it, you leave it behind. Most humans will die without ever entering a state of true flow even once. They are afraid of the intensity it demands. Flow requires total commitment, not partial effort, not shallow work, no safety net of multitasking. You either burn through the resistance or you remain mediocre forever. Part 4. The Art of Controlled Burnout. You have discovered the truth about mental fatigue. You have built an environment engineered for cognitive warfare. You have learned to ignite Neuro-Flow on command. But understand this, even the most powerful minds can burn out. Even a nuclear reactor, if pushed beyond its design limits, will melt down. Operating at peak mental capacity is not sustainable indefinitely. If you operate at maximum cognitive thrust without strategy, you will collapse. You will not bend the world to your will. You will be broken by your own ambition. The fatal flaw of the hyperachiever is this: once they taste the power of hyperfocus, they become addicted to it. They try to live in it 24/7. They think they are invincible. They ignore the subtle signals. Sleep erodes, emotions fray, creativity collapses, discipline turns to exhaustion. They don't see the crash coming until it's too late. The burnout curve is real. High-output mental states consume hidden reserves. Every session of intense flow, every day of ruthless productivity, every week of pushing your limits costs you an invisible energy you don't feel immediately. You can operate at peak capacity for a time, but beneath the surface, a slow deficit begins to build. If you don't manage it strategically, it will ambush you. One day, you will wake up and feel that your mind is slow, your drive has evaporated, and your mental edge has turned to bluntness. This is not weakness. This is the burnout trap, and it has closed on you. You cannot avoid exhaustion if you live on the edge of human cognitive performance, but you can control it. You can treat it not as a failure, but as part of your operating cycle. Here is how the dark masters operate. Cycle 1. Strategic acceleration. 4 to 6 weeks of ruthless mental pushing. Regimented days. Merciless focus. Zero tolerance for distractions. Cycle 2. Calculated deceleration. 1 to 2 weeks of deliberate slowdown. Not collapse, not laziness, but active mental recovery. Meditation, slow creativity, low intensity study. Cycle 3. Amplified return. After a controlled burnout, you return to high intensity work stronger, smarter, and more resistant to mental fatigue. This is not rest as a reward. This is rest as a weapon. During your strategic slowdowns, you don't do nothing. You rebuild the mind. Here is how the elite reforge themselves after the burn. Silent meditation sessions. 30 minutes a day of thinking with zero inputs. No books, no podcasts, no conversations. Just you and your mind. Deliberate dopamine detox. Cut off sources of cheap bliss. Social media, junk food, trivial entertainment. Train your brain to find pleasure in thought, learning, and solitude. Deep study mode. Read deeply and study complex materials slowly, not for speed, but to recondition the mind for calm and focus. Light physical activation. Move a little. Walk, lift light, do mobility work. Reconnect the mind and body without draining the nervous system. The legends who last for decades, not years, live by this rhythm. Explosion. Slow down. Stronger explosion. Smarter slowdown. Then a merciless explosion. They don't work insanely until they break. They build their momentum like a storm. Controlled violence, strategic silence, then more controlled violence. If you have made it this far, you are no longer the person who started this journey. You have changed. Ordinary minds obey fatigue. Ordinary minds live in chaos. Ordinary minds drift in shallow work, waiting for motivation to rescue them. But you now know the forbidden truths. You know that exhaustion is a liar, that your environment either forges you or kills you, that flow can be summoned, not begged for, and that controlled burnout is not weakness, but strategy. You are no longer bound by the rules you were told to obey. But understand this, knowledge alone changes nothing. The world will not bend because you understood the theory. It will test you. The moment you step away from this, distractions will attack, weakness will whisper to you, and comfort will call you to surrender. Most people will collapse, but the rare few, those who were built for more, will answer the call. They will sharpen themselves. They will sacrifice. They will evolve. And when others wonder why their own dreams died so quietly, you will be moving in silence toward dominance. The choice is now yours. Make this a fleeting moment of inspiration you quickly forget, or make it the turning point. The day you became ruthless in your own evolution. The day you stopped negotiating with your own mind. The day you went to a war no one else can see, but everyone will feel when you win. This was never about working more. It was about waking up. Waking up to the truth that your mind is a weapon you were tricked into using at a fraction of its power. But now you see the door. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Your mind is not just for survival. Your mind is capable of sovereignty. Forge it, bleed for it, and burn brighter than every fading genius around you. And when they ask you how you did it, smile and say nothing.